What's up, film fans? It's Epic Film Guys here. Nick,
Justin,
and we just got back from a 7 p.m. showing of Guardians of the Galaxy, and we were pretty divided on this one. I think we've been debating for the past hour before we got on the camera here. So
a little bit.
We're each going to give you our thoughts of the film, and then I think we're going to debate on it. And I'm going to pitch it right to you, Justin. What did you think of the film?
I was entertained. You guys, if you guys watch our reviews, you know that previously neither of us were really all that interested in James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy. The first, actually, all of the trailers they did nothing for us.
No.
And I speak for myself and him when I say that. We'd be in the theater and I watched it online, and it's like it just seemed kind of childish and adolescent, and wasn't the tone that I was liking at all for that kind of movie. But early reviews came in and they were all good, and I was like, well, I'm kind of surprised at this.
Pretty glowing, actually.
We went into it. I went into it with a mindset of just allow it to happen, and it did. And I was entertained. I had a fun time. I think the film was good, and I leave it at good. I don't think it was very good. I don't think it was great. I don't think it was excellent. But I think it was good for what it set out to do. Even more so than some of the other recent Marvel fare. I mean, to get into specifics, I liked the cast. I think the cast was very well put together.
Very well cast.
Chris Pratt, while a little flat in some of his line delivery, I think was actually a good lead. I liked everything they did with him. I loved the fact that the film started out in the 80s and that he's a child of the 80s and all the homages, like Little Elf and Garbage Pail Kid stickers and his ship.
Cassette tapes, big motif.
The cassette
in the
tapes.
film. Yep.
I mean, I love the 80s. The 80s is one of my favorite things in the world. I live for the 80s. I'm so nostalgic about the 80s that when I saw those little things, it kind of hit my heart. And that goes to my main point about this movie, that it had a lot of heart for me. It felt like real. A lot of the other Marvel movies, they tried to be a little bit more serious, and a lot of it came off as being a little bit too serious, then it came off as being a little bit hokey. This thing knows what it wants to be. It wants to be fun, entertaining. It wants to be available for children alike. We got Rocket Raccoon up on the screen here, who stole the show, in my opinion, the entire
Owned
film.
the film. Owned the whole film.
Owned the movie. Voiced by Bradley Cooper. But, I'll leave it at that. I mean, I really enjoyed it for a sci-fi action feature. And mind you, I wanted to let you know that when I watched this movie, I did not think of Marvel at all, because I'm not familiar with the comic characters at all. I was big into Marvel comics a lot when I was younger. I did not get into the Guardian storylines of the comics. So when I went into this just as a straight film fan and wanted to just take it as a movie. Nick, what did you think about the movie?
Well, going off of what he said about how this didn't feel like a Marvel film at all to him, completely disagreed. This felt exactly like a Marvel film to me. Very little development. He told me I can't use the word no. Very little development in the film. I don't care about anything in the film. Like every other Marvel film, they don't spend any time developing anything. They throw it at you. They say, here it is, take it. And I'm sorry, the Rocket, very enjoyable. Cooper was great. Pratt, good. Saldana, good. Batista, loved Dave Batista.
Oh yeah,
in this film.
I can't even praise him enough. He was really good.
There was a lot of good performances in the film. There was a lot of fun to be had. Karen Gillan, though, come on. Go from Doctor Who, where I loved you even though I despised how much the story focused on your damn characters. But come on, some of the line delivery also came off pretty flat for Nebula.
There was, yeah.
But overall, there was a lot of funny moments. There was a lot of fun stuff. The humor really played well in the film, but
more so than we thought.
Way more so than I thought. Way more so than I thought. I'll definitely give it that. A lot of the humor was really, really fun, and he goes on and on. He's going to use the word fun more times in this review than we use the word fantastic in the Edge of Tomorrow review. He is, but fun. But I'm still walking out of the theater and I'm still terribly disappointed. Who was the Nova Empire? Who were the Kree? Who was anybody in the... You don't know. You don't know because Marvel doesn't think you need to know. I don't know anything about the Guardians of the Galaxy. Zero. I have never read a single Guardians of the Galaxy comic book. I've never read a single thing about any of the characters. Everything I know about it is in this film, and you don't know jack about anything that goes on. You know, like, one important character trait for all of the leads. That's it. Ronan the Accused, the big villain of the film. All you get from him is, oh, he's mad that they signed a treaty after, like, this 1,000-year war. About what? For what? Who knows? Who cares?
I give it that much, but, you know, at the same time, I felt Ronan was a better villain than what we've seen in a lot of the previous
Better than
Marvel.
what we saw in Thor: The Dark World from the Dark Elves. But I mean, granted, that was a low bar to clear.
I think it might have even have been. I loved what they did with Bucky and the Winter Soldier in the last Captain America film, but in this, I liked how Rodan looked. I liked that he was a physical presence, and I liked that the way that they made him out to be a villain. There wasn't a lot of development for him, and I definitely agree with Nick on that. I think that there's a lot of room for development issues in this movie.
I will say that they gave us more of Ronan than they gave us in the past few Marvel films.
Of the villains,
like you said, especially the Dark Elves and Thor: The Dark World. Still, of all the Marvel films, still dismally weak and terrible. So it was at least better than that.
I enjoyed what we saw of the villain, but it was kind of a wasted opportunity. Another huge, I mean, gigantic wasted opportunity in this movie is Thanos. We get him for, like, alright, you get Brolin.
Okay, no.
And then you shoot one scene.
Do you count the Star Wars reference in there with the talking scenes where he's talking to the projection? Definitely a lot of homages to Star Wars.
There's a lot of homages. I already assumed that, of course. And I think, like, in the past 35 years, I mean, it's kind of hard. A lot of these movies, you know, you see homages without them even necessarily being direct. I mean, we know James Gunn, who directed the movie,
and homages to Star Wars.
He helped write the movie. Mm-hmm. He's a Star Wars fan, and he started at Troma doing horror movies. He did Slither, for all you hardcore horror fans out there, with Michael Rooker, who's in this movie as well, who hams it up, and he's great, by the way. He's very enjoyable in this movie.
I kind of know how you can't love Michael Rooker in anything, because, I mean, he doesn't do anything he doesn't ever challenge himself. I don't think
he's himself.
He's him. He's himself in blue paint and a
little metal mohawk, and he's hilarious. I liked every scene. He has this little arrow that he can, when he whistles, it shoots out and it kills people.
Krill, not done here, boy. Like, he's got that deep southern accent, and I mentioned this to you before we did the review. I was wondering when he first stepped on screen what he was going to sound like. Yeah, and then he starts talking, and it's literally just Michael Rooker in blue paint and a metal mohawk. But it works. It works.
I mean, James Gunn even went to the extent of actually having Lloyd Kaufman in the cameo in a prison sequence, too. Like, so he's loving his trauma roots there. He's loving his horror roots. I really love the way he directed the picture, and I love the way the film was shot. Beautiful. The CG looked great. I can't even say enough how I liked the way that Rocket was done and voiced. And this is the thing. It's so funny for me because when we watch these trailers, I thought I was going to hate that. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a fan of these comics. I'm not a big Guardians fan. But that guy stole the show. Hence, on another subject, I have no idea why the hell they decided to cast Vin Diesel as Groot, because he says the same line, spoiler alert, I'm sure you all know, he says the same line the whole film over and over again. Why are you going to cast it just to put his name in the credits, I think, right? Maybe. I mean, on the poster has to have Vin Diesel on it.
I don't know.
I think the Fast and the Furious
Vin Diesel's
franchise
not a draw.
is big enough now.
Vin Diesel's not a draw.
Yeah, the Fast and the Furious movies are making tons of money now.
The Fast and the Furious franchise itself, because there's been like fucking 20 films in it, that's a draw. I don't think Diesel's necessarily the reason why those films are a draw. Put Diesel in another film, like he hasn't been anything else because everything else he's in doesn't perform that well. At least I don't think. I don't really follow Vin Diesel's box office receipts because I'm not his biggest fan.
Well, I'm not a fan at all. Point being, we want to know what you thought of the movie, so after we post this, we want to see your opinions. We know a lot of you out there really, really liked the movie.
A lot of you are going to disagree, especially with me, but you're going to disagree with us.
I only agree with Nick to the extent that if you look at a film like this compared to the tremendously amazing, Apes movie that we saw this summer, it's hard to take anything else seriously now, but I know this is targeted towards a different audience. It's supposed to be more of a fun movie. Yeah, there's that word, fun. And I know you did have some fun. You did. You did have some fun.
There was funny scenes.
You didn't hate the film, right?
I didn't hate the film, but I didn't like the film either. I'm struggling where to land on a rating, and I guess we'll go to ratings now. I'm struggling where to land on a rating because I didn't like it and I didn't hate it. Like, it's a film I watched. Like, that's kind of how I felt when I came out of it. Like, I'm pissed off about the stuff that I didn't like, and I'm happy about the stuff that I did like. The comedy worked, but I mentioned this a couple times when we were debating about it before we got on camera. Is, you know, Marvel wants us to be invested. There's this big climactic battle over Zangar, or whatever the name of the capital of the Nova Empire, the planet is, and there's this big battle between Ronin's forces and the Nova forces, and, you know, of course, the Guardians and, you know, the salvage guys, the Wreckers, whatever, is that what they were called, Wreckers? There's a lot of stuff in this film that really wasn't. But my point being that, like, I'm not invested in it at all. You told me nothing about it. It's scenery. That's all it is, and you just painted it there, and you just slapped this movie against it. And I'm sorry, I need more than that in the film. Fun for me when I go to the movies is not only do I laugh, not only, you know, is it nice to look at or anything like that, but it invests me in the story and in the characters within the story. And I wasn't invested in this film whatsoever. It's a film that's not rooted on Earth. Like, there's no basis, you know, there's nothing to root
other than
on.
Our main character was born on Earth.
But I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have to give the film right now 5 out of 10. I was very, very middle of the road with this one, and for every time I think of something that I loved, I think of something that I hated. And this Marvel formula, a lot of people are sold on it already, and I hate it. Because they don't develop anything. They don't care. All they do is they just throw this crap at you, and people lap it up, and I don't understand why.
I think they develop it. I just don't think they develop to the extent that you would hope for and that you'd like to see.
Which is why I rate it the way I
do. I agree with you. I agree with you to an extent. I mean, I feel like they did give some development for what they were trying to go for in this picture, and I liked it. Like I said, I did not love this movie. I didn't think it was great. But I really did enjoy it, and I think I enjoyed it because I went in with very low expectations because I thought I was going to hate the movie. Like I said, the trailers were not good, and I cared nothing about it. So when I went into it, it was just kind of like, my balls were cold, man. I mean, there was no heart on there before anything. It was just kind of, and I warmed up to it slowly, but it kind of almost got there. I think there's a lot of potential in a sequel. I'm very glad to see Chris Pratt as a leading man. It's good to see new up-and-coming actors.
I love Pratt. I will say that.
The performances made it enough for me, you know, where I enjoyed it. That's what mattered to me in the movie. I saw all the faults. He's right. The script was a little bit weak. I think that if you gave 5 to 10 more minutes of character, we say that about everything.
Easily.
I think
this film did feel really short, and it could have easily been like 10 minutes longer. Just. It doesn't even have to be long scenes, just more.
A little bit more.
Spend a little bit more time developing this world, because from my perspective, watching this film, I felt that this was developed for fans of the comic book. I don't feel that this film was very inviting to me, the guy who's never ever heard of these characters or seen anything about them. It wasn't very inviting to me, because I don't have the backstory from the comics to float me through.
It was a throwback to old school 80s science fiction action movies, adventure pictures, just without saying so. I'm going to give the film an 8 out of 10.
Wow.
I gave
James Gunn show up and give you like a cool 150 or something before we started filming this?
Alright guys, I gave Amazing Spider-Man 8.5 out of 10 on my second viewing.
Where the hell that rating came from?
This is a better made film than that all around as far as direction, cinematography, and by the way, I love Tyler Bates' score in this movie. That's one thing that got me through the whole thing. Lately, I'm not one to complain about scores, but I'm like, half these movies, the score is so weak. And I loved the opening movie, the score in this, and I loved all the way through what he did with the score. It felt old school, bombastic, and very energetic, and I liked that. Yeah. So there you go.
I'll give it that. The tone of the film worked for it, but I mean the rest of it, I'm sorry, it didn't work for me.
So neither of us hated it, neither of us loved it, but I enjoyed it. He slightly enjoyed it, slightly hated it. It's the Epic Film Guys rating. And this is Justin.
And Nick, dismally disappointed.
It's okay. We want to hear what you have to say about the film. Get at us at facebook.com/epicfilmguys and our YouTube page.
It is youtube.com/epicfilmguysny. And follow us on Twitter, please.
Special thanks to Upstate Merch, our sponsor for these awesome Epic Film Guys t-shirts. So last minute for Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm sure Dylan probably enjoyed the movie, and I'm hoping that I hear from you and Chris on how you guys enjoyed the movies.
I'm hoping, what I want is, I just want you to tell me why you enjoyed the film, aside from the action, and aside from Rocket being funny. Because I like those parts too.
Rocket was very funny.
But I'm sorry, I wasn't
funny.
invested in the script.
I laughed.
I was not invested in it whatsoever. And that's, how did this film invest you? That's my question. Epic Film Guys, out. All right, reset.